Hello everyone, welcome to Port Harcourt IAS Academy, Northeast's premier institute for UPSC, APSC and NPSC preparations. I'm your friend Atrey and today I'm here with another segment of Current Affairs 365 dated 1st of October 2021. This is your one-stop solution for any news and updates which will help you prepare for your civil services examination. And along with that, it is also going to be beneficial for any other Assam state government services. So don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Facebook as well as Instagram. The first news of today is about the Kaveri river water dispute. Recently, the Kaveri Water Management Authority directed the state of Karnataka to immediately release the balance quantum of water to Tamil Nadu. However, the authority have dropped discussion on the Mekedatu Reservoir project following the strong protest from Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Pondicherry. Now, what is this Kaveri water dispute? It involves three states of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, and one union territory of Pondicherry. The major issue of this dispute is 150 years old and it dates back to the two agreements of arbitration in 1892 and 1924 between the then Madras Presidency and Mysore. It entailed the principle that the upper riparian state must obtain consent from the lower riparian state for any constructional activity like reservoir on the river Kaveri. From 1974, Karnataka started diverting water into its four newly made reservoirs without the consent of Tamil Nadu, and thus this resulted the dispute. In order to resolve this matter, the Kaveri Water Disputes Tribunal was established in 1990, which took almost 17 years to arrive at a final order on how the water should be shared between the four riparian states in normal rainfall conditions. In distress years, a pro rata basis shall be used, it instructed, and the government again took 6 years and notified the order in the year 2013. This was, however, challenged in Supreme Court, which directed Karnataka to release 12,000 cusecs of water to Tamil Nadu, prompting protests in the state. The final verdict of Supreme Court came in the year 2018, where it declared the Kaveri as a national asset and largely upheld the water sharing arrangements finalized by the tribunal. And it also reduced the allocation of water from Karnataka to Tamil Nadu. It was also directed that the center to notify uh, it was directed to the center to notify the Kaveri management scheme, and the central government notified the Kaveri water management scheme in June 2018, which by constituting the Kaveri Water Management Authority and the Kaveri Water Regulation Committee. Now, coming to this Mekedatu Reservoir project, it aims to store and supply water for drinking purposes only for the city of Bangalore, and around 400 megawatts of power is also proposed to be generated through this project. In 2018, Tamil Nadu approached the Supreme Court against the project, even if Karnataka had held that it would not affect the flow of water to Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is opposed to any such project being proposed in the upper riparian unless it was approved by Supreme Court. We all are aware of the river Kaveri, right? It is also known as the Ganga of South and is the fourth largest river of southern India. It is known as Ponni in Tamil. This river is considered to be a sacred river of southern India. It rises on the Brahmagiri hill of the Western Ghats in southwestern Karnataka state and flows in a southeasterly direction through the states of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and descends the eastern Ghats in a series of waterfalls and drains finally into the Bay of Bengal through the Union Territory of Pondicherry. In the long term, there is a need to recharge the water through afforestation, river linking, etc. And there is a need to focus on the increasing water use efficiency through micro irrigation, awareness among people to prudently use water, and through water smart strategies. The second news is about the Pradhan Mantri Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana, that is the Saubhagya scheme, which has successfully completed 4 years of its implementation. Under this scheme, 2.82 crore households have been electrified since its last launch till 31st of March 2021. This scheme was launched in 2017 and its aim was to ensure electrification to all households in the country in rural as well as urban areas. And it also aimed at achieving universal household electrification in the country through last mile connectivity. Along with that, another major goal was to provide access to electricity to all unelectrified households in rural areas and poor households in the urban areas. The beneficiaries under this scheme were identified using the socio-economic and caste census of 2011 data. However, unelectrified households, those who were not covered under the socio-economic and caste census data, they would also be provided electricity connections under the scheme by paying rupees 500. Now let us come to the expected outcomes. It is expected that this is going to lead to environmental upgradation by substitution of kerosene for lighting purposes. It will also improve the education services of rural areas and will add better health services. This will in turn also enhance the connectivity through radio, television, mobiles, etc. Related initiatives includes the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana, PM Kusum, Integrated Power Development Scheme, Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana, and GARV app, which is the Gramin Vidyutikaran app. Moving ahead to the next news, it is related to a report which was released by the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis. It is a US nonprofit corporation, and this, as per this report, the lockdowns slowed renewable energy installations in our country, and thus the pace of such installations is lagging the target of our country, that means India's 2022 target. India currently stands at fourth position in the world in terms of installed renewable energy capacity, fifth in solar, and fourth in wind. Now let us have a look at the highlights of this report. Coming to solar energy capacity, India has till now managed to install only 43.94 gigawatt of solar energy capacity. However, India was to have installed 100 gigawatt of solar energy capacity by March 2023. Then coming to green energy capacity, only 7 gigawatt of green energy capacity was added in the financial year of 2020-21. India had set a target of 175 gigawatt of renewable power installed capacity by the end of 2022. Coming to coal stocks, it has hit a new record high of 1,320 lakh tons and exceeded the monthly average of the previous 5 years. However, as per an analysis of the daily coal stock position, it has exhibited a deterioration as more plants reported supplies were critical. The major challenge of India's growing daily peak demand does not require investment in excess baseload thermal capacity. Instead, the electricity system needed a flexible and dynamic generation solutions like battery storage, pumped hydro storage, peaking gas-fired capacity, and flexible operation of its existing coal fleet. So government should accelerate the deployment of such sources in order to help to meet the peak demand and also balance the grid at a lower cost. Their prices were falling and so would be cost effective and a buffer against the very high prices at the power exchange during a peak demand. Coming to India's initiatives for renewable energy, then we have to make mention of the National Solar Mission, the Wind Energy Revolution, National Biofuels Policy and SATAT, Production Linked Incentive Scheme, and the National Hydrogen Energy Mission. The next news is about the B3W Build Back Better World initiative. US officials are all set to visit Latin America in order to look for possible projects for the B3W initiative. This is an international infrastructure investment which was announced by the G7 richest democracies in 2021 June. The B3W initiative is also being seen as the US's initiative to counter China's Belt and Road initiative. The B3W plan is a COVID-19 relief future economic and infrastructure package which was proposed by the G7 countries for developing and lower income countries. Through B3W, the G7 and other like-minded partners will coordinate in mobilizing private sector capital in 4 areas of focus, namely climate, health and health security, digital technology, and gender equity and equality. Infrastructure development will be carried out in a transparent and sustainable manner, financially, environmentally, and socially, which will lead to a better outcome for the recipient countries and communities. B3W will also try to infuse investment by complying with the standards promoted by Blue Dot Network relating to the environment and climate, labor and social safeguards, transparency, and other areas. The investments will be made in a manner consistent with with achieving the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement. Along with that, B3W will also envisage countering the aggressive model of development and establish a more inclusive model for global development. Now let us have a look at the Belt and Road Initiative and its associated problems. This project was launched in 2013, which broadly aims to facilitate cross-border transportation of goods, access to energy, creating demand for existing excess capacity in Chinese industry. However, this project has been heavily criticized for several reasons. Western critics have attacked the initiative as new colonialism or the Marshall Plan for the 21st century. This is also being seen as a part of China's debt trap policy, wherein China intentionally extends excessive credit to a country with the intention of extracting economic or political concessions from the debtor country. Also, projects like China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, building of Colombo Port City project in Sri Lanka are not only commercial in nature, but they also have some strategic implications as well. And this was all for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you all will like it. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Facebook as well as Instagram. I'll see you all again tomorrow with another segment of Current Affairs 365 only on Port Harcourt's IAS Academy, Northeast's premier institute for UPSC, APSC and NPSC preparations. Till then, take care, keep learning. Bye-bye.
Port Harcourt IAS Academy প্রস্তুতি আৰু অধ্যয়নৰ নিৰ্ভৰযোগ্য ঠিকনা Port Harcourt IAS Academy